but I know there are some members, especially those ones who are doing mathematics. Those are people doing MEG. I think they have a lesson at 4. Last time we overshot, and they had no alternative but to leave us. So I think let us try to make sure at least by 4 we are done with everything, so that we give time for those going for mathematics to be able to start there. Okay, last time we did something about we're dealing with the rocks. So today we are going to complete the rocks, where there's very little concerning rocks. So we are just going to finish off with the rocks. Then we go on to dealing with the questions. Also, I prepared some small thing on photographic interpretation. In our WhatsApp group, there was someone who sent some questions on photographic interpretation. I think I managed to pick from there, and you can see those were quite good, and we can see how we can be able to deal with that as well. Okay, so we had discussed rocks, and had said that rocks have 3 types: the igneous rocks, the sedimentary rocks, and the metamorphic rocks. Igneous rocks are basically of three types: the volcanic rocks, the hypabyssal rocks, and the plutonic rocks. Then also the sedimentary rocks. The sedimentary rocks, their formation may also be of 3 types. When accounting for the formation of sedimentary rocks, they are of 3 types as well. There are those ones which are physical formed, those that are chemically formed, and those that are organically formed. So physical sedimentary rock, organically formed sedimentary rocks, and physically, chemically, and organically formed sedimentary rocks. Then we also have the metamorphic rocks. Metamorphic rocks, we say those are changed rocks. Rocks that may have changed their course, because we know some rocks are stable while others are unstable. Rocks which are stable are the ones whose structure may not change quite easily, but those which are unstable, those which are unstable are the ones which can change quite easily. So the change of the metamorphic rocks, we said it was basically as a result of heat and pressure, or both. So heat and pressure, or both. So heat as a result of volcanic activity. I said that is a contact metamorphism. Then pressure is also known as a regional metamorphism, because it affects a very wide area and is due to tectonic processes. Yeah. So Kathy, you're raising your hand. Is there anything which is very thing, because there was some? Okay. Then there is both heat and pressure, what we may refer to as a thermodynamic metamorphism. So that is what we covered last time. And I'll just say, making a review now, I say that today we are going to deal with the rock cycle. The rock cycle. Now, there's some short thing here that we may see before I may share some slides. I may share some video here about the rock cycle. Let us just listen to it briefly. Let's see. Something concerning the rock cycle. Okay, let us listen to what the rock cycle is then.
Rocks are slowly but constantly changing in something known as the rock cycle. The rock cycle begins with magma, or hot melted rock, deep beneath the Earth's surface. This magma becomes crystallized, becoming igneous rock. These rocks begin to erode or break down into small pieces because of wind, water, or other forces. The small fragments of rock are carried away as sediment when water passes over them, and are deposited in layers, which eventually become sedimentary rocks. Then, some sedimentary rocks are pushed below the surface due to tectonic activity, where they are exposed to heat and pressure, transforming them into metamorphic rocks. If the rocks are buried even deeper, they may melt and form magma, starting the cycle all over again. Of course, sedimentary and metamorphic rocks can be eroded into sediment, and igneous rock can become metamorphic rock or lava. But one way or another, rocks all over the world keep changing from one form to the next.
Okay, so we've seen that one to introduce us to what is maybe referred to as the rock cycle, the tendency of rocks to change from one state to one type to another. So we have Alex. Okay, rock cycle. What is meant by the rock cycle? We're saying that rocks change from one form to another. Any type of rock can change into another type. For instance, igneous rocks into sedimentary rocks, or metamorphic rocks, and vice versa. So the tendency of rocks to change from one type to another, just as the other video had told us, is what is referred to as rock cycle. So any type of rock can change, as it had been indicated that if it is an igneous rock can change to sedimentary rock. How? By the igneous rock being eroded, by the igneous rock weathering, and the materials eroded, transported, and deposited into sediments later on to form sedimentary rocks. Then also, sedimentary rocks can also be subjected to heat or pressure, and they are changed into metamorphic rocks. While also metamorphic rocks can be able to be remelted and turn into, later on they become magma and turn into igneous rocks. So there are those who are raising up their hands there. Oliver. What is the issue? Or time will come when you raise up your hand. There are so many people raising up their hands. I ask them, what is the issue? They remain silent. They remain silent. So now I will be ignoring those hands and continue until when I've finished. So this is the diagram to illustrate the rock cycle. I hope I'm being heard. This is what is referred to as the rock cycle. So the rock cycle, we have seen these are sedimentary rocks. while these are igneous rocks, then sedimentary rocks. And here we have what? Metamorphic rocks. Now, rock type can change from igneous to sedimentary by weathering. It may weather. And then it may weather, then the particles are transported and deposited to form sedimentary rocks. While also, on the other hand, sedimentary rocks can be subjected to heating. They can be heated and they can remelt to form what? Igneous rocks. Then also igneous rocks can turn into metamorphic rocks when they're subject to intense heat and pressure, can change into metamorphic rocks. And also on the other hand, metamorphic rocks, when heated can become molten and later on solidified to form to form igneous rocks. So also sedimentary rocks through heat and pressure can turn into what? Metamorphic rocks. While metamorphic rocks, when the weather and later on the particles or the sediments are deposited, then end up as what? As sedimentary rocks as well. So the rock cycle. So this is what we are referring to as the rock cycle. Rock cycle. Okay. Someone is asking about what are metamorphic rocks. We may not be able to go back there. I think we dealt with that one on what? In detail. Okay, the rock cycle. That is what is the rock cycle explains. A diagram to illustrate the rock cycle, which is the tendency of rocks to change. So we're saying that rocks change from one form to another, and that any type of rock can change into another type. For instance, an igneous rock into sedimentary or metamorphic rock, and vice versa. This is the illustration. And earlier on, we had seen some video which he tried to explain the process of that rock cycle. So a question from here could be that explain what is meant by the rock cycle. This is exactly what you can do. In fact, this illustration here, which is well annotated, can even earn you most of the mark. Okay. Now, we now got another subtopic about we now got another subtopic about the importance or the significance of rocks. The importance or the significance of rocks or the uses, because they're important because of their use. Otherwise, we can't just say that they are what they are used for business, but basically the uses are the ones which make them significant. Okay. Okay, so we are saying that we're saying that the importance of rocks are used for rocks weather, and the other time we warned people against what? Against the annotating. Rocks weather to form fertile soils. Rocks weather to form fertile soils for agriculture. So fertile soils are important soils for agricultural production. So rocks weather to form fertile soils for agriculture. So now, what is important here, you have got to notice that you have got to cite an example of the type of soil of rock that may weather to form fertile soils. Of course, you know there are certain rock types like quartz. When they weather, they form infertile soil. So in this case, what type of soil, and possibly even where. So rocks weather to form fertile soils. For example, basalt. Basalt may weather to form fertile soils. For example, those ones in what? In Kisoro. Then secondly, the source of valuable minerals. So from rocks, we get what? Gold. Yeah, there are many ores. Yeah, from ores, we have gold, diamonds. Those are very valuable minerals. Those are quite valuable minerals. Then also, we are seeing that rocks are aquifers. So as aquifers, they are good sources of water. Rocks act as aquifers. They are good sources of water, i.e. they act as underground water stores. So what types of rocks? They act as good underground water stores. These are sandstone, fractured limestone, basalt, and so on. Those rocks which may be quite porous. So they offer sources of good, what may refer to as artesian water. So some rocks, another point is that some rocks attract tourists. Hence foreign exchange earnings. So rocks may promote tourism, specifically what may refer to as geotourism. So geotourism is important with rocks such as marble. We have the coral rocks. We even have the coral rocks. Coral rocks are tourist attractions. So some rocks attract tourists. Now, so someone is asking about what are aquifers. It is explained here. Aquifers are rocks that provide underground water stores. And an aquifer is a porous rock lying underground where water can be stored. That is what is meant by an aquifer. And aquifers may provide what may refer to as artesian water. Let me annotate here. The spelling of artesian is like this. Artesian water. So underground mineral water is referred to as artesian water. And this artesian water is from these aquifers. So aquifer is for more, you can check the dictionary. What is the dictionary is, or you can Google it. But otherwise, that is what is meant by aquifer. So we have seen agriculture, example of rocks, which can be weathered for fertile soils, basalt, valuable minerals. We have gold, like gold, diamonds, and so on. They are act as aquifers. Then also there are tourist attractions. They promote what we refer to as geotourism. Okay. So some people are complaining of some noise here. Okay, let me handle
I must attach the type of rock.
Okay. Now, some rocks.
I think they are very
Some rocks are used as building material or construction. And some rocks are used as building material or construction material. For example, sand, granite, basalt, coral rock, and so on. These ones are materials that may be used for construction. And also another importance of rocks is the rocks are used as raw materials in industries. They're used as raw materials in industries. E.g. limestone rocks are processed to produce, limestone rocks are processed to produce cement. Some rocks are processed to produce cement. Clay or tile brick also clay for tile or brick making, for pencil making, graphite for pencil making. So these are industrial raw materials. So you can also give instances where limestone is produced, for example, at Hima, at Tororo, at Bamburi, in Mombasa, in Nairobi, in Dar es Salaam, we have cement factories which use limestone. Then also here, when you said rocks are used for building material, yeah, sand is general. Granite is also general. Basalt, for example, in Kisoro, wall fences are constructed using basalt. Coral rock, yeah, coral rock is in the coast is also used for construction. For example, the famous tourist attraction, Fort Jesus. Fort Jesus was constructed using coral rock. Yeah, the Portuguese built Fort Jesus originally using coral rock. Then point number 7, importance or significance. Some rocks are a source of fuel. So rocks such as coal are a source of fuel. Now, like if coal is common in the world in South Africa, the South African coal mines. In Europe, we have coal in the Ruhr region of Germany. Then in East Africa, we have coal in the Ruhuhu Valley in southern Tanzania. Ruhuhu Valley, we have coal deposits there. Then some rocks are used for decoration and ornamental purposes. Some rocks are used for decoration and ornamental purposes. E.g. gemstones such as marble, obsidian, quartz. So some rocks used for decoration and ornamental purposes. Or gemstones such as marble, obsidian, quartz. Those ones are for decoration or ornamental purposes. Then also another importance of significance of rocks is that the rocks are used for research and study purposes. For example, oil shales at the Directorate of Petroleum Exploration and Production, Entebbe. Even when one goes to the Directorate of Geological Mines, of Geological Surveys and Mines. Geological Surveys and Mines at Entebbe, we have the rocks are there. They are being used for research. Any sample of rocks which are got by digging possibly pit latrines, by drilling boreholes, samples of rocks are taken there. Whoever gets some sample of a rock has to usually it is welcome at the directive of surveys, of geological surveys. So research is there, even at the universities. Agricultural research. I mean, at Makerere University Department of Geology, there's also a lot of research being done. But in fact, with all types of rocks, but the significant ones have been we have had oil shells, because we discovered these ones in the Albertine Graben in Western Uganda. And the research has mainly been to see how much oil they have, or whether they have oil, and if possible, how much oil could be there, whether it is good quality or bad quality oil. Then another one is rocks such as corals provide strong foundation for the development of dockyards. Strong foundation for the development of dockyards. Rocks such as coral rocks provide strong foundation for the development of dockyards and other port facilities, e.g. along the East African coast. Then also we have some rocks tend to be medicinal. For example, clay for expectant mothers. Even rock salt may be quite medicinal. Rock salt may be quite medicinal. So these are some of the, but what is important, what I would say is that, I may try to emphasize here, is that a similar question like this came last year in the USCE 2020. And many people may not have passed down well because they were not citing the specific examples of the rocks. Now, like here, I talked of rocks for research and study. The example is the oil shells. Rocks providing strong foundation for development of dockyards. We have talked of the coral rocks. Coral rocks are there. Then rocks for medicinal purposes. We have talked of clay, and also what? Rock salt. These, when you are giving the importance, you have got to cite examples, specific examples of the rocks, and also possibly where the areas where they may be done, but more in terms of the specific example. So what is a dockyard? A dockyard, possibly, I don't know whether you know what a dock is. A dock is a sheltered section at a harbor, a section of a harbor where ships may be anchored, That is what is called a dock. Then the part of the ground where ships dock, where goods are placed, after being loaded or after being offloaded, or when they're going to be loaded, that ground is known as the yard. They call it the yard, or simply dockyard. Dockyard is the ground next to a dock. So a dock is a section at the harbor where ships can be anchored for loading or offloading. So other things that you may want to find out about dockyards, what is meant by things like what? You may also what you may call it. Also try to find out what is meant by key. Find out what is meant by a wharf, and out what is meant by a jetty. Jetty, also a bath. Yeah. Bath, then okay, we have talked of a dock. So these are some of associated things with the what? With the port. Okay, so now I think we can. Okay, now we're seeing that some rocks are used as food supplements. Some rocks are used as food supplements. For example, rock salt for both humans and livestock. Some rocks are used as food supplements, an additional point. So, for example, rock salt for both humans and limestone. So, rock salt for humans, it is one can use it for cooking dry beans. Dry beans, when you apply rock salt in the dry beans, they cook very fast. And also, salt contributes the bones and for human what livestock. Cows enjoy what? The rock salt, and it contributes to their what? To their well-being. They're those ones who may offer agriculture may know more about the significance of rock salt to livestock. Then another factor or significance is that some rocks are used as sites for the filming industry. For example, the limestone rocks are the Nyakasura caves. The limestone rocks are the Nyakasura caves. The coral rocks are the East African coast also. These are examples. Limestone rocks, for example, Nyakasura caves, that is the America and Inamuri caves. People go there to make films. Then also along the coral rocks, musicians, filmmakers, all of those, the coral rocks world over are suitable sites which provide some scenic beauty, especially in the filming industry. Then rocks have promoted the mining industry. Now mining, what examples of rocks? For example, limestone. Limestone where you may say Hima, Tororo, then also copper, Kilembe, iron ore, beryllium, and so on and so forth. So these are the examples of rocks that have been mined. Here in East Africa, it will be here in East Africa or elsewhere. But as we said, if the question limits you to East Africa, then the examples must be from East Africa. But if it is an open question, then the examples can come from all over the world. Then lastly, here we have some rocks as sources of fertilizers, or they can be used for manufacturing fertilizers, e.g. phosphorite, or what we may refer to as rock phosphate. So the rock is phosphorite or rock phosphate. And also limestone for the production of what? Of lime. Lime is some kind of fertilizer for neutralizing the pH of soils. If the pH is unsuitable, either too high or too low, you apply what? Lime. So lime is used for treating what? Soils. Lime may be used for treating soils to ensure that agricultural production is enhanced. So, but the examples: fertilizer, rock phosphate, mining, the examples of the minerals must be cited. For filming, the examples of the rocks must be cited. Also the food supplements, the examples of the rocks, we have talked of the rock salt, Okay, so now we have looked at the positive, the positive significance or the importance of rocks. Because at times when they say discuss the importance of rocks, so or the contribution of rocks, the importance is both positive and negative. So now we are going to look at the negative importance or the aspects of rocks. The negative aspects of rocks. So we may say that some rocks weather to form infertile soils. Some rocks weather to form infertile soils. And what are these examples of rocks that we weather to form infertile soils? We have coral rocks. Coral rocks, like for example, in some sections of Zanzibar and Pemba, we have the coral wanda. The coral wanda has poor soils because they're of coral origin. Then also limestone rocks with too much limestone is also not fertile. Granite may also weather to form not so good soils. Quartz that is obvious. Quartz weathers to form poor soils in terms of agriculture. Then also hard and rocky rocks. The hard and rocky rocks tend to be a hindrance to cultivation. Hard and rocky areas tend to be a hindrance to cultivation. Yeah. For example, basalt in for example, the basalt rock in Kisoro. Basalt rocks in Kisoro. Like if one visits that place, there are areas where the people have struggled to gather those rocks and put them aside. They keep them aside. And the good thing that they use them for construction also. But in bid to get some less rocky areas so that they can grow their crops. So hard and rocky areas tend to be a hindrance to cultivation and also to the use of machinery. Hard resistant rock masses like granite hinder the construction of transport routes like roads. Hard resistant rock masses like granite hinder the construction of transport routes. So it may be very expensive to cut through such rock outcrops, especially if they are resistant ones like granite. Then also we have the porous or permeable rocks like basalt, pumice, and limestone tend to limit surface drainage, leading to the absence of drainage features like rivers and wetlands, for example, in Kisoro. So porous or permeable rocks have led to the existence of subsurface drainage. So these rocks they're permeable. When water comes on them, the water just seeps through. For example, like in Kisoro, Kisoro is one of the places in Uganda that receives a very heavy rainfall. But when you go there, swamps and the surface drainage tend to be quite limited just because of the nature of the rocks. Because there are some rivers that emanate from Mount Muhavura. From Mount Muhavura, then they disappear. They continue as underground rivers, then they reappear in the lowland areas in some places, then also may disappear again and end up in some of the nearby lakes. So subsurface drainage has been the norm with these kind of rocks. And yet there are cases whereby surface drainage would be beneficial to the people. Fishing, water for domestic use, and so on and so forth. Then also sedimentary rocks like clay. Sedimentary rocks like clay with high colloidal content and high water retention capacity result into silting, to waterlogging and also flooding. So sediment rocks which have high clay, sediment rocks like clay with high colloidal content and high water retention capacity result into silting. They also result into waterlogging and even flooding. So that is it. Then also clay-rich soils, the clay-rich rocks encourage mass wasting in the form of mud flows, which are some of the highland areas. Highland areas like in eastern Uganda, around the slopes of Mount Elgon, in districts like Nafwa, Bududa, Sironko, Dadiri, those places. So they have been affected by mass wasting because of the clay-rich nature of the rocks. So I think these are all the what? These are some of the problems. And I mean the negative aspects of rocks, which one needs to bring out when discussing or examining the significance of rocks, of the positive and also the negative. Importance is both positive and negative, and these are some of the negative aspects we see, but ensure that the point has what? An example of the rock type and possibly instances where it is being what? Witnessed or experienced. Okay, so I think now with that, it may bring us to the end of the topic about rocks. So now what we have here, some revision questions. Some questions which are here. Some could be some of these questions could be some past paper questions. Yes, could be some past paper questions, while others, could have just quoted them. But even there are some more that we can be able to ask. Now, like someone on the chat, Amita is saying that to Annabella. So you define a rock structure and rock platform as a unit that form part of the earth surface, then bring out the roll. Okay, okay, someone had asked some question, I think. Okay. So these are the things. Now we can look at these questions and we see how one can be able to answer them. Earlier on, when we started, these were the questions which a number of you were asking. Some of you were asking, some of them we managed to discuss them, and others we said, let us wait until the end. Because some of these questions may require one to have also covered some other topics. Some other topics. Because the last question, number 5, is a summative question, which requires one to have at least complete the entire topic of geomorphology. I mean the entire section of geomorphology. Now, question one, account for the formation of the various types of the various rock types in East Africa. So how would you approach that? They said that when answering such questions, like in a level, we try to test whether you have understood the concepts. So it requires whether you have understood the concepts, not just regurgitating or reproducing notes. Because much of the marking may be by impression, especially these as a type of questions, may be by impression. And what is the checklist for impressional marking? Is need for the introduction or the background information. The introduction, then you have got to outline, to bring out your point, explain the point in relation to the question, explain the point. Then you illustrate, where possible, illustrate diagrammatically, Then finally you bring out you give an example. Now, with this one now, account for the formation of the various rock types. How would one approach this question? How would one approach this first question? Account for the formation of the various rock types in East Africa. At least we have covered all the rock types. And I said at least we have covered the whole syllabus. In the entire topic.
Right.
Okay, if I may.
Right here. I want to ask that question. They need the answer.
Yeah, we want to account for the formation of the various rock types in East Africa. So what you have got to do, first of all, in the approach, you have got to do what? To define.
First define.
You define what? Rock. What are rocks? What are rocks? Okay, there's someone who has said. Please, okay, yeah, yes. Someone is requesting that. Let us try to mute ourselves, unless you are asking or providing your view. You mute yourself, because in the background we have been hearing some feedback. There's a lot of feedback. So define rocks. There is that person. Who is that one there? There is who? There is Okiris Susan. So define rocks. We will define rocks and explain what makes up the rocks, define, and what makes up the rocks. We know that rocks are made up of what? Minerals. Rashid Faisal, your hand is up. Can you, I think you can unmute yourself. Or if you may fail to unmute yourself, then I think you can. you can do what? You can type in the chat your query. Okay, I have allowed you to unmute yourselves now. Okay, now that we're there, you can I wanted to define a rock. Okay, sorry. Okay, now Rashidi, it's okay. So okay, let us not. We're just trying to give the what the approach just here. The details, I think you will have them. You have them in your notes and so on and so forth. Then account for the formation of the different rock types, defining and explaining what makes up what rocks. Then you identify the different rock types. Identify the different rock types. And explain their mode of formation. Explain the mode of formation. Now this one here, I think this is basically what the question wants. But now here, when explaining the mode of formation, explain the mode of formation with aid of diagrams, say writing with a mouse is not an easy thing, with aid of diagrams and examples. So you make sure you back up your what? Your point with examples. So identifying the different types of rocks. The different types of rocks you identify are the igneous rocks, the sediment rocks, and the metamorphic rocks. And under the igneous rocks, you can also talk of how they are formed according to the rate of cooling. According to the rate of cooling and solidification. Then also according to their mineral composition, you can explain in that area. So of which you may talk of the volcanic rocks, the hypabyssal rocks, and the abyssal rocks. Then you come to and identify the other type of rock, which is the sedimentary. You do the same thing. We have the physically formed, the chemically formed, and also the organically formed. The same two metamorphic rocks to identify, and you describe the formation just as we had gone through. So it requires identifying the different rock types, and you systematically explain them. Though this may be a very long question, but in the process you may not go so into the unnecessary details, because first of all, explaining igneous rocks a lot of times may end up being a question of its own. Now here you are dealing with igneous rocks, you're dealing with sedimentary rocks, and you're dealing with the metamorphic rocks. It's quite wide, but that is generally what the question requires. Okay. Then we can then go back to our next question. There's someone who is saying that, sir, I'm not seeing anything. Okay, this is it is the whiteboard. Is it that everyone is not seeing anything? It could be if you're using a phone. There are times when what is
Teacher, we are
screen shared.
saying
Yes, but then anyway, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It is there's someone. What is his name? It is even the name is funny. I mean, this person must be a funny person. Delight. Okay, now. So I may now go back to our question there. Now, okay, someone said that, teacher, how do I conclude that question? That account for the formation of the various types of rocks in South Africa. Then how? Then the conclusion here, the conclusion what is meant by a conclusion is the summary. A conclusion is a summary of what you have done, what you have discussed. So what have you discussed? You have said that there are three major types of what? Rocks in South Africa, and their formation is varying as discussed above. Yeah, that is what we have summarized. That's how you may conclude, because this is not an evaluation question. That doesn't ask you for the extent to which some factors affected it. Now, question number 2: describe the processes which have led to the formation of sedimentary rocks. This is also the same thing. Describe the processes which have led to the formation of sedimentary rocks. So you first of all, you define what sedimentary rocks are, then you give the characteristics of what sedimentary rocks. So here, defining what sedimentary rocks are and their characteristics. Then you go on to discuss the processes which lead to the different types of what sedimentary rocks. So the processes for the formation of mechanically formed sedimentary rocks, processes for the formation of the chemically formed sedimentary rocks, and the process for the formation of the organically formed sedimentary rocks. Okay. So they were the ones who are those ones who are just trying to unmute yourselves. I mean mute. There's this person called Clinton. Then part B, I think is self-explanatory. Okay, part A was describe the process which have led to the formation of sedimentary rocks. This one I have done. The processes here include the chemical process, the physical process, and the organic process of formation of the sedimentary rocks. Those are the ones which you describe. Then part B, explain the importance of sedimentary rocks in South Africa. So here you have got to now give the importance, the positive, then possibly the negative, the positive importance and the negative importance. But it should strictly be sedimentary rocks. Don't give any significance of metamorphic or igneous rocks. This one strictly one sedimentary rocks, because you can say that rocks may wither to form fertile soils, then you say basalt. That is wrong because basalt is not a what? Sedimental rock. So here we may talk of rocks form fertile soils for agriculture. For example, the alluvial soils, because those sedimentary rocks may be from alluvium. Examples must strictly relate to sedimentary rocks. And also East Africa. Also East Africa, because the question is not open. Examples must be from East Africa. Then, thirdly, account for the formation of metamorphic rocks. Yeah. So first of all, you define what is meant by metamorphic rock. What is metamorphic rock? Metamorphic rock, and also you give the characteristics of metamorphic rocks. Define, briefly explain, and give the characteristics. Define and give the characteristics of metamorphic rocks. Then you explain the formation of metamorphic rocks through the process of thermal metamorphism, dynamic metamorphism, and also what? And the thermodynamic metamorphism. Then discuss the importance of metamorphic rocks. The same thing here. Here examples must strictly be what? Metamorphic, and also relating to East Africa. Don't bring in, don't cite examples which are sedimentary or igneous rocks. It is strictly what? Metamorphic examples. The point will be given if the example is a metamorphic rock. Then number 4 here, explain the processes which led to the formation of igneous rocks. Explain the process which led to the formation of igneous rocks. So now the processes for the formation of igneous rocks are those ones which may pertain to the cooling, the rate of cooling, which causes and the solidification, which may include the formation of volcanic rocks, formation of hyperbyssal rocks, and formation of plutonic rocks. And also you also explain the formation of the igneous rocks according to their chemical composition, which may result in the formation of what? Of acidic igneous rocks, acidic igneous rocks, and basic igneous rocks, and the intermediate igneous rocks. Explain those processes, but after defining and giving the characteristics. So first of all, define and give the characteristics. Then you go to explain how they are formed. Examine the economic significance of rocks to the people of South Africa. The same, igneous rocks. Just like as you did it to number 2 to number 3, the same thing you do number 4, whereby you strictly, examples strictly must be what? Igneous rocks. Strictly must be igneous rocks. Yes, okay, someone was asking, so concerning number 2, do we give both positive and negative? Yes, as I said, yes, you do. Because I've said what? Importance. We said importance is positive and negative. Then lastly, the last question which I said, must you must have covered other aspects. Examine the influence of rock structure on the development of landforms in East Africa. So here there's a rock structure. Now this is now any type of rocks, whether igneous, sedimentary, or metamorphic rocks. How they may influence the formation of landforms in East Africa. Now, I may start with the influence of the rock structure refers to the geology, which may And some of the attributes of rock structure are rock color. Now, first of all, the rock hardness. Whether it is hard or soft, hard or resistant. So then there is a rock color, which may affect processes like weathering. There's a rock permeability. There's a rock jointing. You know, there are well-jointed rocks. There's a way in which they affect the formation of what? Of some landforms. The rock jointing, or rocks may be well-jointed while others may be massive without what? Joints. So those are, and also the rock mineralogy, all of those, when talk of the what? Rock structure, that is the chemical and the physical geological properties of the rocks, how they may affect the development of landforms. Now with the igneous rocks, there's a way in which they may affect the formation of rocks directly. Like if one has covered the topic of volcanicity, then there you know that when magma comes out, the lava flow, depending on its viscosity, may result in two composite cones, lava cones, or may result in two lava plateaus, or even lava plains. They may result in two, with the violent eruptions, craters may be formed. So this question here may require you to have covered other topics. Even rock structure, according to the waves, I mean the coasts. Rock structure affects the landforms along the coasts. It could be either through coastal erosion or something like that. So question number 5, yeah, it is appropriate for to come later when other topics have already been have been covered. So someone is asking that for question number 1A, teacher, number 1A, are we supposed to arrange the processes? And if I miss one, will my answer be wrong? I think it was meaning number 2A, describe the processes which have led to the formation of sedimentary rocks. Yeah, you may not miss your answer may not be wrong, but you will lose marks for example, if you talk of the physical process only. If you talk of the physical process and also the organic process, you will lose marks for the chemical process of formation of the sedimentary rocks. So the order may not do what matter, but at least to maximize on the marks, you must cover them all. You must be able to cover them all. Yeah. So number 5, someone is still saying that it is not the approach for question number 5 may not still be clear. So the approach, let me stop here. The influence of rock structure on the development of landforms. Let me go to the whiteboard. Sorry. Rock structure. So the question says, examine the influence of rock structure on the formation of landforms. So what is a rock structure? We have said rock structure is geology. Which is the what? The chemical and physical properties and physical properties of rocks. The chemical and physical properties of rocks. These are the what a rock structure is. So which have to do with what? With hardness, with the hardness. Those who have put up your hand, you just hold on a bit. With the hardness, the jointing, the porosity, the color, etc. Those attributes, those rock attributes, how they may affect the what? The formation of landform features. Because where rocks are very, very hard, where a rock is very hard, the surrounding areas of weak rocks may be removed, and you will find some dome standing, something like an isobag standing. So the landform there is an isobag. Rocks which are well jointed may be weathered quite easily, and may give rise to certain types of what? Of rocks. So you identify these are the ones, then in the end, that the influence of this rock structure, then you explain, explain how structure affects landform formation. Whether by coastal, whether by wave erosion, whether by volcanicity, whether by erosion, weathering, all those. That's why I was saying that a question requires one to have covered other topics as well. Okay, so now let me allow you to unmute yourselves. Now, someone is asking, what does porosity mean? Porosity is
What does porosity and jointing mean?
Porosity is the ability of rocks to allowing water to seep through. It is the permeability. You know what is meant by permeability? Porosity is the same as permeability. Then rock jointing. Jointing is the what? Is when rocks have cracks. Is the tendency of rocks to have what? Cracks. It's going to be the mass of rock, and they have what? Cracks. They have cracks. There are some rocks which have no cracks. So the jointing has to do with the cracking of the rocks. So those cracks allow in agents of weathering to get in, and so they can easily be what? Weathered. Yes, okay. Those who have raised their, maybe raising their hands. Chelsea, Teacher Charles Kagoye, and also is it Tuende?
Hello.
Yes. Yeah, Mr. Kagoye.
Yes, Solomon. Thank you for the presentation. I just wanted to make an addition. For proper understanding of porosity. I would look at students understanding porosity as the spaces, the pores that exist within a particular rock. If the space is big, then it will attribute to much more of the water. If it is small, it will take in little water. Maybe that gives a proper understanding. Then I was also asking, what of minerals? The mineralogy, is it also one of the factors?
Yes, it is part of the what? The structure, the attributes of the rocks. Rock, I said the ETC, it include rock mineralogy, the rock texture, right, and all the others. Yeah, they are all attributes of rocks. Yeah. Yeah, otherwise, thank you very much, Brother Kagoye, because porosity depends on the what? On the air spaces in the rocks. Those ones with the large air spaces, a lot of water can be allowed to seep through. Then those ones with the tiny air spaces, like clay-based rocks, those ones have what? Very tiny air spaces. But rocks like basalt, like pumice, those ones have wide airspace, so they're very porous. That's why earlier on we were saying that those rocks which are porous, they, like in Kisoro, they have led to the formation of subsurface drainage because the heavy rains which are received all seep through. Okay. Now there is texture the same as hardness? No, earlier on where they were looked at something to do with what? With the texture. Texture is the size of the rock crystals, the size and arrangement of the rock crystals, size and arrangement of the rock crystals. Teacher, pardon, on porosity, we said, okay, porosity is the ability of water to seep through the rocks, ability of water to seep through the rocks, which depends on the size of the pores, in the rocks. Porosity is the same as permeability. If you can understand what permeability is, then that is what? Porosity. Otherwise, texture is not the same as hardness. Hardness is the ability of the rocks to resist scratching or abrading. Very hard rocks, resistant rocks. Okay. So I think this is where I can stop as far as this is concerned. Otherwise, then I had wanted to go to some. I had wanted to go to something about the other picture, which the other questions which someone shared on a photographic interpretation. Okay, before I can go to that, we said that we can still have some more questions now, like there is another question, which was, there's a part A of it, which says that distinguish between clastic and non-clastic sedimentary rocks. Then part B, they could ask about what? The importance, yeah. The importance we may not do. Okay, let us now deal with the what. So distinguish between clastic and non-clastic sedimentary rocks. Yes, Comfort.
Okay, so I just wanted to know the definition of clastic.
Yeah. Okay. Now, who can tell us what clastic means? Yeah, because we covered it here. We spent some time on it. Because I remember when we were dealing with, we said their sedimentary rocks may be of two broad categories. There are two broad categories, those which are clastic and those which are non-clastic. And that is the exact thing I'm asking now. Who can put up his or her hand and tell us? Who remembers what clastic sedimentary rocks are? And also there are cases whereby they ask, like this year, 2020, there was a question that distinguish between metamorphic rocks and distinguish between igneous rocks and metamorphic rocks. Distinguish between igneous rocks and metamorphic rocks. So there you have got to explain what metamorphic rocks are. Then later on you explain what. I mean, you explain what the igneous rocks are. Then later on you explain what metamorphic rocks are. Okay, so I can go back to this thing and then share. Yeah, clastic rocks are made of what? Sediments. Yeah, that is what one of you has told us, and it is true. Yeah, but we can just go back to what we did. When we're starting with what when we're starting with with the things. So we said the sedimentary rocks are of two broad categories. Two broad categories. The clastic rocks. So we say the classic rocks, these are sedimentary rocks made of fragments of rocks cemented together, such as breccia. They are mechanically formed. Comfort was making a lot of noise. So they are mechanically formed. So clastic, they are made of rock fragments, as someone has already told us. You can see here the rock fragments. So they are physically or they're mechanically formed sedimentary rocks. Then the other, the non-clastic rocks, the non-clastic sedimentary rocks. So these are rocks whose minerals crystallize out of solution to become rock. For example, limestone is through chemical, they are formed through the chemical process. Then or are formed from remains of plants and animals. So non-classic rocks are chemically formed or organically formed sedimentary rocks. Chemically, the minerals crystallize out of solution to become rock, for example, limestone, or they are formed from remains of plant and animals, such as coal. So they are either chemically or organically formed. So the non-classic rocks are either chemically or organically formed. So they don't have those fragments like this other one, like the bridge we have. They're not made of fragments cemented together. They are as a result of the chemical weathering. I mean, they're as a result of the chemical process, or as a result of the organic process of formation of forming the sedimentary rocks. So someone was saying that was requesting for this slide about the classic rocks. Okay. Yes. Yeah. We are. This discussion is being recorded. Of course, you will get the work. And these notes are that said that we will finish first, then we will see how we can post the notes on GiantPedia. You will access them from there. Okay, so that is about it. So now let me now go to open. I think the other issue of what? Of the photographic interpretation, we may not be able to do it. We shall see how we can do it next time. But there was some good questions. Someone posted on the what on our WhatsApp group, and I pick it from there. So we shall be able to discuss. Okay. So now you may feel free to ask. Okay, you may unmute yourself and ask. You already have the permission to unmute yourself, because we are remaining with some few minutes. I wouldn't wish the mathematicians to do what, to miss their mathematics lesson like the other time. Okay, is there any other thing? Yes, 20 to party, but
Teacher, I got answered.
yeah, you got answered. Okay. So someone is asking which group. Okay, there's the GiantPedia group. Yeah, I think you may ask some of your friends. They can send you the link so as to join the group. So if you are in Alan, you're asking for the group, so you can request, inquire from your friends. They can be able to send you the link so as to join the group. It is a geography GiantPedia group, WhatsApp group. All right, so thank you very much, Mr. Gerard Okoth. Yeah, it has been a pleasure being with you here. It is good that I could see you are answering so many queries on the chat, because normally when we are here discussing, there are so many questions. At times you wonder whether to proceed or to answer the questions, but it's good that you were providing some backstop services. Thank you very much, Mr. Okoth. So I think we can be able to end here, so that we allow the mathematicians to go for their mathematics lesson. So I think now
Excuse me, teacher.
Yes.
Teacher, kindly put back the image of the rock cycle.
The image of the rock cycle.
Yes.
Okay. So I think I can now. Or we can. Okay, there is some registration. I think this is for registration. Yeah, the WhatsApp chat. To join, I think the link is there. So may I now call upon, because I know the teachers who are there. There is Mr. Gerard Okoth. Then there is a brother Kagoye. Brother Kagoye with us there. So I'll wish to call upon any other teachers who may be there if they can say something. So I think let me start with you, Mr. Koth here. If there's anything you wish to say, advising the students.
Sir, I want the link for math.
So one who has the
Hello.
yes. Hello.
Yes, definitely everyone.
People, the one who is in the background. Yeah, let us hear from teacher Okoth.
I was saying I'm really grateful happy to be with you on this and I've done great. I'm calling youngster friends to join these lessons.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Koth, for your input. There's someone here, is it Mark? Is the background is making a lot of noise. Okay, then a teacher, brother Charles Kagoye. Yeah, you have always been with us here. Thank you. Also, thank you and appreciate your input.
It's a pleasure, and we thank you very much for your input and for always being there for the student.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. I don't know whether there is another teacher with us here. I may not be able to tell.
Magunga is around.
Oh.
Mr. Shodwe Namagunga.
Eh, Mr. Chodre, I'd seen him earlier on. Mr. Chodre. You can say hi to us.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chodre.
So much for the presentation, Mr. It was a great lesson. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Mr. Chodre. So it is a pleasure for you to having been able to spare your time to be up to the very end. At times also, when I'm not presenting, there are times I may get in, but certain times I may not get the time. Otherwise, thank you very much, everyone.
You're welcome
for attending and participating. So there are those who are going for the mathematics lesson. There's someone who was asking about the link. Yeah, I think your friends can be able to send you a link. If there's anyone who has, can post it on the onto the chat, so that one can be able to get that. Otherwise, thank you very much. Wish you all the best. Okay, stop recording.